The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman. It's Monday, and that means it's time for another edition of Black Focus Radio. You know, that show that unabashedly talks about black issues, creating black solutions, and amplifying black voices. Be sure to support our sponsors, JoyNetRadio.com, where we keep you inspired and informed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And they broadcast Black Focus Radio daily, 12 to 2 p.m. Central Time. Also, don't forget about RibRub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, where we bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh, yeah. And a new sponsor, Chan Bear Media Associates, where they help you get your podcast and your book out to the public. There'll be more information about that coming up here in a little bit. Don't forget to catch Black Focus Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And while you're out on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay? Very, very important. And also, join my one-man campaign to get rid of the N-word. It's the most despicable word ever created. Our rise begins with how we address ourselves, and using a derogatory slur against our own people is a negative, self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, just don't say it. Okay? Now, got a big show for you today. A lot of stuff to talk about. God, it's so much these days. Sometimes I don't know where to start or end. But we're going to talk about a couple of things this segment. Of course, we got Black Focus or Black Facts coming up here in just a moment. And I'm trying to decide, do I want to talk a little bit about Africa, or do I want to talk about what Malcolm said about celebrities? And in fact, I think I'm going to squeeze both of them in. How about that? Let's just squeeze both of those items in, because it's very, very important that we address some of the things that are going on in our community as well as around the world. So let's just do this. Let's just do Black Facts.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
All right, I hope you stick around for this Black Fact. I think you'll enjoy it. You know, there's been a lot of things I've talked about over the years as it relates to Black Facts. I've been doing Black Facts now for quite a while. And one of the things I've been saying for a long time is that we've got to do better with our money. We just got to do that. And that's just not here in America, but that's all around the world. Think about it from this perspective. What would happen if black people banded together and decided that they were going to spend with black people? Okay? So the reason I'm bringing this up is because of something that I read this past week that relates to Africa. Now, if you've been following the show, I've talked a lot about Ibrahim Traore, who is the president of Burkina Faso. Okay? And I've admired what he's been doing, basically telling the West that we're not going to take your mess anymore. And I think that all African countries should do the same. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Europeans went into Africa. They stole all their goods and left them with nothing more than a Bible. All right? I think it's Ben Yoakum, Dr. Ben Yoakum, who said that they told us to bow and pray, and when we opened our eyes, they had stolen us blind. Okay? So here's an interesting piece that I discovered about the international it's from the True Vision International Global blog. I want to make sure that they get I want to give them the correct credit. And it's about Dumu Boko. Let me read this to you. Trump invited him to the White House. He said no. Now the whole world is shaking. True Vision Africa just found the story the mainstream media buried. Donald Trump, the most powerful man on earth, sent an invitation to Botswana's President Dumo Boko to visit the White House. The man looked at the invitation and reportedly said no. Not, I'll think about it. Not, let's reschedule. He said no. His words allegedly were, if there is any business to discuss, it should take place in Botswana, not abroad. Buyers go to sellers, not the other way around. Let me read that again because that's really important. Because think about it from this perspective. When you go and you're buying something, you go to the mall, you go to a particular department store, you go to a grocery store. They don't come to you. Now, back in the day, if you're as old as I am, I remember farmers used to have a truck where they would drive around the neighborhood after their harvest, and they would bring vegetables and fruit, all kinds of things. And you would hear the bell and you would go out and he'd have a truckload of stuff and you'd buy it off the truck. They don't do that anymore. All right. Even when they have farmers markets now, they have a market where they set up their wares and you go to them to purchase. Okay. His words allegedly were, and I'm reading again, if there is any business to discuss, it should take place in Botswana, not abroad. Buyers go to sellers, not the other way around. An African president just reminded the most powerful nation on earth of a basic rule of commerce. You want our resources? Come to us. We are tired of flying to your capitals to beg for deals on our own minerals. Hello? And here is where God stepped in. Just days after the refusal, geologists announced that Botswana is sitting on all 15 minerals on America's most urgent resource list. The minerals are powerful, powering electric cars, defense systems, and microchips. Every single one is found in Botswana. The West built systems to keep Africa on its knees. They sold us the idea that we must travel to their tables to eat. They wrote the rules of global diplomacy and made sure Africa was always the one asking, never the one answering. They kept the power and sold Africa the debt. Dumo Boko just flipped the table, quietly, powerfully, without firing a single shot. This is what Africa's sovereignty looks like when it's not apologizing. Okay? The world needs to know, and Africa needs to see this, that a new generation of African leadership has arrived, and they are not selling to anyone's White House or flying to anyone's White House to beg. The Clean Up Africa seminar on July 15, 2026 exists for this moment to raise young Africans who know their value and never negotiate from their needs. True Vision Africa's verdict: when you know what is in your ground, you don't beg for a seat at the table. Botswana just told the most powerful man on earth, come to us or stay home. Hello? Y'all get this, right? It's the same with Ibrahim Traore, okay, in Burkina Faso, whereas that they've kicked the French out. You see, what you ought to understand here is that Africa is the cradle of civilization. You know, I was interesting. I saw a post earlier yesterday where this guy had linked all of these different ancient vegetables and different bones and stuff, where a lot of them were found here in America. Well, your ignorance tells me, and that's what it because he basically went on to say that forget about the African cradle of civilization. It was really in the Americas. Well, see, you don't understand history. In fact, you don't understand geology. You see, I've talked about this a lot on the show. And what you don't realize, but if you simply looked at a map, a world map, if you simply looked at a globe, you will realize, and I realized this, back in the 4th grade, it was a puzzle. Okay, I remember back in those days where when we would have a break in class, and then now that I think about it, it was like 2nd grade. They always had these puzzles that you could put together of the United States and the 50 states, and then they had one of Africa, and then they had a bigger one of the world where you would fit in all of the continents and so on and so forth. Although it was always Africa was one of the smallest, when we know geographically, there's you can fit 10, 15 United States inside of Africa as far as the landmass is concerned. But here's my point, is that if you look at a globe, you can tell those pieces kind of fit like a puzzle. Every continent. And you might be wondering, well, why is that? Well, the reason that is because the land masses, or the continents, the 7 of them, by the way, the 7, that doesn't include the Middle East, because the Middle East is not a continent. It is part of Africa. But they all fit together. If you could take them and push them, they all fit together. Now, why is that? Have you ever asked the question? Well, you probably haven't, because you've never even paid attention that these continents fit together like a puzzle. Well, the reason that is because at one point in the history of the world, they were together. You all understand that, right? They were together. All right? Now, you say, well, if they were together, well, what happened? It's something called the continental drift. Okay? And what that means is that through the tectonic plate shifting, and of course, I don't mean to get too critical, too deep in the woods about this particular issue, but the continental drift has to deal with your tectonic plates. Those are plates that are underneath the Earth's crust, and they shift, they move. In fact, they're constantly moving every day. Okay? They're moving, I think the last report that I saw, that they're moving 2 centimeters every day. Or it might have been every hour. I think it's more like every hour. Now, 2 centimeters to you is not a lot. You know, that's what causes earthquakes, is when the tectonic plates begin to shift. Y'all understand that, right? So what happened is that the tectonic plates began to shift, and that's where the continents began to divide. But you said, well, wait a minute, how does that make sense? You see, when black people say that black people were here in America long before the slave trade, they are right. In fact, black people has been, and then if you go and you look around the world, there are African pyramids on literally every continent. Now the question is, now wait a minute, Dave, how could that be? Well, it has something to do with, guess what? The continental shift, or what they call the continental divides. All right? So in other words, if all the continents were together, and we know that they were based on not my extrapolations, but simply by geologists who are a lot smarter than I am, we know they were together. That means that people lived on all of those continents. And we do know that Africa is the cradle of civilization. That's where it all began. That's where every white person has African DNA. How was that possible? Because it began in Africa. The oldest set of bones that we've ever found is in Africa. And her DNA can be traced to every race of people on this world. Yeah. All right. So the continents were together. So that means that people that of dark skin lived in Africa. People of dark skin lived in Europe. People of dark skin lived in Asia. People of dark skin lived in Australia. Y'all get this, right? That's part of the reason that 3/4 of the people in this world are people of color. Hello? Y'all following me yet? Are y'all mad yet? You know, I really don't care if you're mad because I deal with facts. Okay? So, back to those pyramids real fast before we wrap this up. There's a reason why those pyramids. Did you know that there are pyramids in East St. Louis? There are allegedly pyramids and African hieroglyphics in the Grand Canyon. That argument, oh well, you know, the people from Asia walked from the Aleutian Islands when on the land bridge and came to America, because they were first trying to say that it was of Asian descent. Yeah, that's not true. I'm not saying that some didn't walk over here, but there were people already here. And by the way, I've told the story often where the Asian anthropologist was trying to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Asian civilization was responsibility for the migration of men and man as a whole. And when he went back and did the research, he discovered, much to his chagrin, that civilization did begin in Africa. Yeah, it did. So I say all that to say this. You know, I had a brief encounter on social media the other day where people are going out to this particular social media account that is pushing white pride and black people have invaded it. And I don't know why it started popping up on my wall, but it did. And I happened to see a post about hockey. I've been telling black people for the longest the origin of hockey. You see, what we have to understand here is that white people didn't create much of anything. They stole a lot of stuff. All right? They invaded, they conquered, and they stole. That's not me saying it. That's historical fact. Because, you know, this show, we talk about fact. It may hurt your feelings, but we talk about fact on this show. So they were talking about hockey. And of course, you know, I've read the book, Black Ice, the story of the Colored Hockey League in the Maritimes. You see, a lot of people don't realize that hockey goes all the way back to as far as 1825 in the black community. Yeah, that far back. All right? Some they say 1895, 1825. I actually interviewed George and Daryl Fausty, who are the authors of that book. By the way, they're white. In fact, I've interviewed them multiple times over the years. Fascinating book. Okay? Now, how did hockey come out of Canada, which is where it was developed, in Quebec? Well, a lot of slaves escaped to Canada where they were free. They intermingled with the Native Americans at that time. And they came up with the game called hockey. It wasn't a white creation. It was a black creation. It was an indigenous people's creation. Now, and I have that book, by the way. So People got upset with me. Oh, that's not true, and y'all just trying to take everything. Well, the bottom line is that y'all tried to take everything, and now that history is proving you wrong, you're mad and upset. You're mad and upset. Okay? So my point in all of this is, what would happen if people around the world of color decided that they were going to get rid of white supremacy? The way Argentina did, they got rid of black people, which I'm hoping they lose the World Cup. Can't be a fan of a team, of a country that is racist. I just can't. What would happen if black people start pooling their monies together? $2 trillion alone in America, more than the gross national product of Canada, more than the second largest nation in the world. What would happen? You see, that's what we've got to start asking that question, because that's what the nations of Africa are beginning to do. And not only are they asking the questions, they are making obvious moves to solve the problem. And that's our Black Fact for today.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
I hope you enjoyed that Black Fact. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We are really serious about trying to get our finances together around the world. And if we simply do that, then we could change this world. And that's the biggest fear that white America has. In fact, that's the biggest fear that the Europeans have altogether, is black people getting their act together. And once we get our act together, this whole thing changes. And the fact that Africa has all of the minerals that they need in order to do the things that they want to do, then we certainly should be concerned about that and making sure that that happens. All right? That's why they're continually trying to divide us. Okay? They're trying to divide us on purpose. All right? They don't want black Americans to relate to black Africans. They don't want that to happen. Because once we begin to understand how important that is, how that makes a difference around the world, then things will definitely change. All right? So let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment. It's called the Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com. When the game becomes bigger than football, demanding change is the only way to win. Hi, I'm Dante Sinkay. I'm wrapping up the last few edits of my new novel, Blue Chip Down. It's a political sports thriller surrounding real-life situations available for purchase this September. I spent 15 years in sports media and championed the rights of amateur athletes getting paid. Today, through NIL, that's a reality. Recently on social media, I created a meme with black athletes stating, "If I can't vote in your state, I won't play in your state." Black athletes have always used the sports platform to highlight injustice in America and around the world. Greats like Jesse Owens in the 1936 Olympics, to John Carlos and Tommy Smith raising the Black Power sign in the 1968 Olympics, and who can forget the greatest, Muhammad Ali, trumpeting black causes wherever the opportunity presented itself. Most recently, the 2015 Missouri football team provided prima facie evidence exhibiting black athletic power. Blue Chip Down is not a novel created to capitalize on current political strife. It's been in the works for over a decade, awaiting its relevance. Now is that time. It's centered around Amon-Ra Fuqua, the #1 high school recruit who ignites a movement demanding justice for fellow athletes and his people while colliding with corruption, politics, race, and power. This is a message to black athletes. There's something bigger than dribbling and scoring touchdowns. Pre-order Blue Chip Down by Dante Sinkay today and save 20% before its official release. Click the enclosed link to order my new novel, Blue Chip Down by Dante Sinkay today.
Need a new logo, podcast, or website development and evaluation, grant research and writing, book
editing with formatting and cover design, Chanbara Media Consultants has got you covered. With over 40 years of media experience, David W. Coleman and the Chanbara team combine creativity with strategy to help your organization communicate with confidence and grow with purpose. Don't settle for ordinary when your brand can be extraordinary. Call Chanbara Media Consultants today at 615-554-0568. That's 615-554-0568. Chanbara Media Consultants, building brands, creating influence, and most importantly, delivering results. What's old is new again. The release of the Pain of Vengeance audiobook is finally here. A new generation, but the old story remains the same. What happens to an officer of the court when the tables of justice are turned against him? Will he abide or take the law into his own hands? Follow the saga of Malik Coleman as he makes decisions that will change lives forever. Be the first to hear it and hear it again. What would you do? Accept an unjust ruling or reject the system outright that views fathers as second-class citizens? Order The Pain of Vengeance today. Now available as an audiobook. The Pain of Vengeance will make you cheer, cry, laugh, and make you question equality and who truly benefits. Order The Pain of Vengeance audiobook by Dante Sinkay today. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. There's a lot of stuff that we're talking about today. I hope you enjoyed that Black Fact. We always try to bring you some good stuff every week as it relates to Black Facts, and that's no different. So, we had a lot of things we want to talk about today. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the Democratic Party. We're going to talk about the age of Congress as a whole. We're also going to talk a little bit about, let's see what else. We got to follow up on this Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham stuff. And I also want to talk a little bit about this young black girl and her boyfriend who murdered their family. All right? So I think what I'll do is start, since we're talking about economics right now, I'm going to stick with this portion. And I want to start with something that Malcolm X said. And those of you who know me and been following the show know that I am a huge Malcolm X fan. What he did for the black community, the mindset. Now, he wasn't the first. Hopefully, he won't be the last. But Malcolm made sure that people understand. Let me put it this way. If there was a black mentality that I had to follow, it would be Malcolm X. You know, the ballad of the bullet. Okay, you get your freedom by letting your enemy know that you're willing to do anything to get your freedom, and then only then will you be free. You see, that's Malcolm X. Everybody, oh, he's too radical. No, Malcolm X was just speaking the minds of many other people. Now, that's not to say that Malcolm is the only one that I would attest to, but Malcolm is certainly the lead dog as far as my race is concerned. So, I wanted to talk about this a little bit because over the last couple of weeks, there's been a big debate, and that debate has to do with black entertainers, okay? And one in particular that has really ruffled a lot of feathers is Jay-Z. Now, if you haven't heard about the controversy that's going on right now in Atlanta about the sister who is supporting the white the white candidate for the governor's race in Atlanta, all hell is broken out in Atlanta. I believe she owns a place called the Taste of Lenox or the Toast of Lenox, something like that. And she recently took a picture with this white candidate. And I know the candidate's name, but I will not call his name. All right? Because I don't believe in supporting racists on this particular platform, and particularly when it comes to political racists. Now, I will identify them when it comes to other things, but as far as when they're running politics, I'm not going to give you any air on this show. But I will just tell you, you can go and look it up. She's a black-owned business. Keisha Lance Bottoms is running as his opponent. She's the Democrat. He's the Republican. And he said that if he, in the primaries, he said he would follow Donald Trump to the letter. In other words, he would kiss Donald Trump's ass and then have him to bend over and he'd kiss it again. That's basically what he said. I'm not exaggerating. You go look it up for yourself. Now, of course, I was being a little hyperbolic there, but you understand what I'm saying. In other words, Atlanta is predominantly black. All right. And it has a lot of voting power. You're not going to win many statewide elections without getting a significant amount of votes from Atlanta. All right. So now he's in his campaign and he's now running to black businesses. There was a story last week about one of the black radio stations, V103. And I've actually been to V103. At one point, when I was doing a couple of my tours, I did some interviews at V103. And it ran some of their campaign advertising. The same thing basically happened in Nashville as well at 92Q. Here's the one thing that people don't understand. There used to be something called a fairness doctrine. I've been in radio now for 40 years. That doctrine was stopped under the Reagan administration. What that meant was that if you had a Democratic candidate on or the Democrats on, you had to give equal time to the Republican candidate or vice versa. All right. Once Reagan killed that, that began the change in the radio landscape. You started seeing right-wing radio hosts on major, well, they were mainly on AM radio, because Democrats, for whatever reasons back then, FM radio was the new thing and they ran away from it. But the AM signals were still out there. And some of those AM stations had huge signals. In fact, I started my radio career at one, and I was WHBQ in Memphis. Okay, AM 560. So then all of a sudden you started seeing right-wing talk show hosts take over AM radio, and this is how they gained a foothold in the mindsets of a lot of people with their talk radio stations. Rush Limbaugh, things of that nature, okay? So, and by the way, Larry King was on some of those. Now, he wasn't right-wing. You had Jim Bohannon in the morning. I remember all those because I ran those shows back in the day. So what you had then, that's what changed the radio landscape today. Now, some people have it misconstrued that if a black radio station runs black political ads, they automatically have to run white political, conservative or liberal ads. They have to run the other. That's not true. All right. And by the way, most of the black radio stations that you hear that play black formats, they are not black owned. Okay. One of the reasons that I love Joint Radio, because that brother, Reverend Clarence Thornton, owns that property, that IP, and also he broadcasts my show. So a lot of people were upset of what happened at V103 and didn't understand, how could the black station betray the black community, not understanding the inner workings of radio. V103 is not owned by black people. It's owned by a white conglomerate, as are many of these black formatted stations around the country, including 92Q that I just discussed in Nashville, Tennessee. All right. And as a matter of fact, one of the black hosts, he and I had to kind of go round and round because people were chastising them for running the spot. What you ought to understand is these stations are trying to make money. They make money on advertising. And if a conservative candidate comes to them and say, hey, we want to run this spot, on your black side of the station or your black media, then yeah, they're going to do it because they're going to take that money. All right? That black radio host has nothing to do with what the advertising side of that business does or sells. You all don't know that, but that's a fact. So getting mad at the people who are the host, the DJs of V103, is different from getting mad at the people who own V103 or 92Q or KOKY in Little Rock or wherever else that you might be listening to a black station and you think they're black because they do black things and they play black music, when in all likelihood they are owned by a white conglomerate. Okay? So I wanted to tell you that because people were upset with V103, but the toast of Lennox is owned by a black woman. And I say that because the white candidate for governor, the conservative, the Republican, he went into pictures at the toast of Lennox with the owner. And she posted it on Facebook. Subsequently, I should say, she's come back and said, oh, we have no affiliation with this governor, this candidate, Well, you made a huge mistake because, see, whereas that black people can't necessarily stop listening to V103 because that's the black station that puts out some black news, but they can certainly stop shopping at your restaurant. And that's what's going to happen. You see, I've told y'all over and over again, once you cross black people, they're not coming back. And I don't know what you were thinking when you decided that you were going to support a candidate who basically said he was going to kiss Donald Trump's Rumpelstiltskin. So anything that he did, he was for Donald Trump. And we know Donald Trump is a racist. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's still, some black people out there who trying to defend Donald Trump's racism. But we know he's a racist. Period. End of story. All right? So now she's in hot water and she's trying to backpedal. It's not working. In fact, it's not going to work. Because once you cross us, ask Target. Black people never went back to Target. They're still losing money. That's why Jay-Z is trying to help Target. Yeah, Jay-Z. Here's a great quote. It says, Malcolm X warned us, celebrities are not leaders. We keep forgetting that. In other words, just because someone can run, throw a touchdown, or run a football or slam a basketball, or can make a song, play a nice bass, all of a sudden, because they're out in the public, we want them to be leaders. They're automatically leaders. They're not. Okay? We confuse representation with solidarity, visibility with power, and we confuse a rapper's success with community progress. Jay-Z isn't the problem. Jay-Z isn't the problem. The myth is. America sells dreams so people don't question the system, and Jay-Z is part of that system. And if you haven't paid attention, he's shown you beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's part of that system. Jay-Z is about making money. He don't give a damn about the black community. He certainly will support the black community and say things for the black community for you all to feel all good about him. But he doesn't give a damn about the black community. It's the same thing I've been saying about rappers for years. He doesn't care. Here's what Malcolm said. Malcolm criticized the promotion of black entertainers as political leaders, famously calling them puppets and clowns. He argued that white society elevated these figures to prominence because they were less likely to challenge the system and often said what they knew the white establishment wanted to hear. Okay? He pointed out a stark double standard. In white communities, leaders are chosen from thinkers, activists, and politicians, while black communities, we frequently are represented by dancers, comedians, and athletes. Because of this, Malcolm X warned against looking to celebrities for authentic guidance in the black liberation movement. Hello? That's the point. That's the point that Malcolm is saying. Let me add another name to this, because last week Ice Cube was upset because the NBA has told its affiliates and the people that are supporting the NBA, because the NBA pays billions of dollars to various radio outlets, various television outlets, to stop supporting, or at least talking about, the big three, which is what Ice Cube has come together to do. By the way, the same Ice Cube who all of a sudden started supporting Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying? They don't really care about what you are going through. They only care about their pockets. Okay? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed king, the one-eyed man is king. And in the post-civil rights era, after the assassination of Dr. King and Malcolm X, celebrities have been elevated as heroes in the black community. People often assume those put on a pedestal for their music, athletic, or artistic skills are also qualified to lead. Indeed, many black Americans find pride in seeing black people who look like them succeed. And they often assume that black people who achieve these heights, who break a glass ceiling, deserve more than just fame, but our adoration and our willing ear. Nevertheless, becoming a talented musician doesn't inherently make someone qualified to be a civil rights leader. During the 1963 interview, Malcolm X imparted some wisdom on the black community. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or dancer, or a trumpet player is a white leader, and suggested that they have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know the white man wants to hear. While it is true that artists are essential to the black liberation movement and have made strides, civil rights activists doing the work, putting boots on the ground in their communities and advocating for structural change that will improve the lives of black people deserve our attention. However, black scholars, politicians, and community leaders rarely receive the flowers that black celebrities do. Often, too often, we're led astray by flashy gold cow style celebrities. Y'all get that, right? Golden cow. I've talked about that. Full of pomp and circumstance, but no substance. When we make the mistake of idolizing celebrities as heroes, we end up giving the mic to people who don't have our best interest at heart. Hello? These people don't care. You know, it was Ice Cube, the same for NWA rapper, who once spit the lyrics, F the police, in response to police brutality. Don't care about that now. You don't hear them saying that now, do you? Because they're about their pockets. You know, what was that? That song was done, back in the 90s? They're still killing black folks. I'm just saying, they're still killing black folks. We need to take a quick break. When we come back, I ran a little long in this segment, but I want to continue this process because I think it's important. And I'm sorry I talked about this a lot over the last few weeks. I'm going to continue to talk about it because we need a shift in our mentality as who our leaders are. And rappers are not our leaders. Back in a moment. It's called Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. On joynetradio.com. Every day, potential customers are deciding who to trust. The question is, will they choose you? At Chanbear Media Consultants, we help businesses, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, and authors build brands that stand out and get results. Need a new logo, podcast or website development and evaluation, grant research and writing, book editing with formatting and cover design? Chanbear Media Consultants has got you covered. With over 40 years of media experience, David W. Coleman and the Chanbear team combine creativity with strategy to help your organization communicate with confidence and grow with purpose. Don't settle for ordinary when your brand can be extraordinary. Call Chanbear Media Consultants today at 615-554-0568. That's 615-554-0568. Chanbear Media Consultants, building brands, creating influence, and most importantly, delivering results. What's old is new again. The release of the Pain of Vengeance audiobook is finally here. A new generation, but the old story remains the same. What happens to an officer of the court when the tables of justice are turned against him? Will he abide or take the law into his own hands? Follow the saga of Malik Coleman as he makes decisions that will change lives forever. Be the first to hear it and hear it again. What would you do? Accept an unjust ruling or reject the system outright that views fathers as second-class citizens? Order The Pain of Vengeance today. Now available as an audiobook. The Pain of Vengeance will make you cheer, cry, laugh, and make you question equality and who truly benefits. Order The Pain of Vengeance audiobook by Dante Sinkay today. Attention entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and soon-to-be 501c3 organizations. My name is David W. Coleman, and I want to ask you a question. Are you looking for funding for your business or organization? The new year is upon us, and it's time to get those grant proposals ready. Deadlines for submittals will arrive quickly, and I can help you put your best business foot forward. There are multiple funding sources available to assist you in completing your mission. You just need to know where to look. If you are new to proposal writing and need tips on where to search for funding, this seminar is for you. I'll help you demystify some of the myths relating to grant writing. I'll give you great proposal writing tips to help you get your submission in the A-pile. I'll point you to funding sources that most people ignore when pursuing assistance. It doesn't matter if you are new to the game or a veteran in this space. I have no doubt there is information you can utilize to get the dollars flowing to your business or organization. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, but tried and effective methods to be successful. If you want to know more, respond with the word grants in the comments below, and I will send you information on the very next Grants and Federal Assistance Seminar. In the meantime, keep looking for that funding, and I'll see you at the next Grants and Federal Assistance Seminar. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. By the way, I'm reading from an article from the website Medium, if you're interested in going out and getting that, looking at this article. Let me start over because I've been telling people about the lack of leadership or the leaders that we use, celebrities, comedians. In fact, I was in a grocery store earlier today and I saw a picture of, and this is a little bit different, but Sports Illustrated has fallen off a lot because on their swimsuit edition that I saw in the grocery store today, Tiffany Haddish. I'm just saying. For instance, Ice Cube, the same NWA rapper, who once spit the lyrics, F the police, in response to the pervasive brutality black people experience, just took Tucker Carlson, ex-Fox News commentator and known white nationalist, on a joyride through his Los Angeles neighborhood of South Central. And the world was gobsmacked. How can the same black man who rapped, "Police think they have the authority to kill a minority," willingly rub elbows with someone who made a career undermining police brutality victims? Carlson called George Floyd's murder an utter lie and carefully concocted myth before Officer Chauvin's conviction. While working at Fox, Carlson also promoted the Great Replacement theory, a white supremacist ideology that suggests black, indigenous, and immigrants of color are replacing white people in America. Anyone who knows America's history knows how outlandish this belief system is, but according to a poll, 7 out of 10 Republicans believe this theory. The tension between who Ice Cube was and has become is a case study in black conservatism. While Ice Cube, Killer Mike, and other black conservatives try to grab attention to their off-the-wall ideas about race by claiming that they are free thinkers, once we raise the curtain, we see there is nothing magical to see. They're just supporting white supremacy. We can tell from Ice Cube's early lyrics that he knows that systematic racism is pervasive and that police cause disproportionate harm to black people. So he is the true definition of a sellout. Whether Ice Cube's political ideology changed because of his status, affiliations, or experiences, something only he can answer. What is clear is that Ice Cube is wholly unqualified to be a hero of the black community. Remember the Platinum Plan? You remember that? Y'all remember that? If you're reading this, you're likely old enough to remember when Ice Cube told the black community they should support Donald Trump, who pulled out the Platinum Plan, a sloppy roast beef sandwich in a paper bag styled agenda, months before the election. The former president, who hoped to stay in office for a second term, promised to bring economic relief to the black community by producing 3 million new jobs within the black community and investing in small businesses. Under Biden's administration, more jobs were created in the last 3 years than under the last 3 Republican presidents. And in 2021, Vice President Kamala Harris and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen announced an $8.7 billion in funding for financial institutions serving minority businesses, significantly more than Trump pledged. Despite the disparity, Ice Cube will never admit he was wrong about Trump. Instead, he claimed that many of his suggestions never made it into the plan, and he wanted black opportunity and representation, bank lending and finance reform, judicial and public policy reform, expansion of the 13th Amendment rights, police reform, reform in Hollywood, and an approach to our Confederate past. Too bad Ice-T didn't get the memo that conservatives are the ones upholding the slavery loophole in the 13th Amendment that's deep. He didn't realize that because Ice-T don't know history. Okay? To maintain forced servitude in states like Louisiana. Despite his intentions, Ice Cube was not an effective broker and would have been wise to educate himself about these topics before jumping into the fray. Let me stop right there. See, the reason he jumped into the fray, because he was trying to get white people to support his business, which was the Big Three. I can honestly say I have never watched a Big Three contest, and I never will. I don't care if black players are playing. Did I say I'll never watch? Okay. Reading civil rights legislation that black leaders are trying to pass, taking the time to A, understand what changes are being pursued, and B, who opposes these efforts, and C, ensure the public understand what's at stake would be time better spent. For example, Democrat Senator Cory Booker introduced the next step designed to end racial and religious profiling and reverse mass incarceration, among other reforms. If Republicans supported the Second Step Act, reforms pledged in the Platinum Plan, then why do they oppose these measures when presented? Would have been a better question for Ice Cube to Donald Trump. Oh, by the way, this is part of the reason, see, why y'all watching that show with Charlemagne. See, he's not going to ask these kind of questions because, number one, he's not a journalist. A lot of these people who have podcasts are not journalists. They're just there to talk and read with no comprehension, with no understanding. They're just there to read and try to think, well, I thought. Okay. Let me continue. We've got a little bit more of this to go, and we'll wrap this up. Let me jump to a couple of other paragraphs in this story. This is a great article. You need to go out and read it. Malcolm X was right to point out the irony of the way comedians are often elevated to heroes in the black community when they would not be in the white community. Keeping black people entertained is a good way of keeping the masses passive. As a result, white people allow black comedians and entertainers to thrive in a way they don't in other fields because they rarely pose a threat to the existing hierarchy. As a result, many black entertainers become pawns, serving as nothing more than a beautiful distraction for a community in turmoil. Seeing Ice Cube, a 54-year-old rapper, actor, producer, and director, take a white nationalist on a joyride through the hood was surreal. Perhaps we're seeing the harm of late-stage capitalism, that when someone's position within a social hierarchy changes, like Ice Cube and many others, gaining money, power, and fame, they become out of touch with the concerns of those beneath them. Like many black Americans still living in low-income communities like South Central. Of course, not everyone is a sellout. Capitalism may be a slimy creature, but there are numerous black celebrities who use their position to advocate for change. But then again, hero is a strong word. Now, Ice Cube is not the only one. Stacey Dash is another one. There's a whole list of black sellouts. Nelly, Ice Cube. There are Saquon Barkley. There are a lot of football players. And I've told you all that part of the reason they do this is because they get into a different tax bracket. And they're trying to save tax money. So what do the Republicans do? They like to cut taxes. It doesn't matter who it hurts. They just had $1 trillion tax cut in the big ugly bill that they passed. Only the top 10% got the benefits of that tax. And who's paying for it? People like you and I. So what I'm trying to get you all to understand, we have to break the love affair that we have with black celebrities. That doesn't mean you don't support them, but we should not be looking to them for leadership, because you're not gonna get any. Anybody that would create music that knowingly destroys their children's children, those are not leaders, my brothers and sisters. 75% of the music executives are white, 80% of them are white, 75% of them are Jewish. And those same Jewish people who push this poison into our community will not allow their children to listen to this music. It makes me wonder about the story that we're going to talk about next segment at the top of the hour. How much rap music influenced them? How much video games influenced a young man and a young woman to murder their family? Now, you might think I'm an old school dude. I love music. But what I love more is my community. And I want our community to be successful. Okay? It is important that we do that. And we can only do that if we band together. And that means financially, and that's philosophically as well. White supremacy has done a great job in keeping those two things separate from our mentality. As Dr. Francis Cress Welsing used to say, we need a mindectomy. We need to take the old mind out and put in a new mind. It is important that we do so. Would you not agree? We'll take the top of the hour break. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com. Every day, potential customers are deciding who to trust. The question is, will they choose you? At Chanberry Media Consultants, we help businesses, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, and authors build brands that stand out and get results. Need a new logo, podcast or website development and evaluation, grant research and writing, book editing with formatting and cover design? Chanberry Media Consultants has got you covered. With over 40 years of media experience, David W. Coleman and the Chanberry team combine creativity with strategy to help your organization communicate with confidence and grow with purpose. Don't settle for ordinary when your brand can be extraordinary. Call Chanberry Media Consultants today at 615-554-0568. That's 615-554-0568. Chanberry Media Consultants, building brands, creating influence, and most importantly, delivering results. What's old is new again. The release of the Pain of Vengeance audiobook is finally here. A new generation, but the old story remains the same. What happens to an officer of the court when the tables of justice are turned against him? Will he abide or take the law into his own hands? Follow the saga of Malik Coleman as he makes decisions that will change lives forever. Be the first to hear it and hear it again. What would you do? Accept an unjust ruling or reject the system outright that views fathers as second-class citizens? Order The Pain of Vengeance today. Now available as an audiobook. The Pain of Vengeance will make you cheer, cry, laugh, and make you question equality and who truly benefits. Order The Pain of Vengeance audiobook by Dante Sinkay today.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman. Welcome back to the second hour of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. I was reaching for my script because I do this every week. I write down stuff that I want to talk about, and then I move on because I get involved in a few things. So let me just quickly look at a few things here that we might get to some of that other stuff. And, I tell people all the time as I'm helping people now make a better podcast, I do make a script. I'll just let y'all know. This is a whole book full of scripts. All right. Over the years that I've written, I've got another book that's completely filled, by the way. Okay. So last segment, we were talking about black celebrities and how Malcolm had said that we should not be using those celebrities as our leaders. He said that for years. Okay? He said that for years. And I agree with him. And just to follow up with that, because I think it's important that we do. Here's the last part of that article, because I think it's important for what I'm getting ready to talk about today. When Malcolm X suggested we shouldn't turn every black celebrity into a hero, he was warning us about people like Ice Cube, who is currently using his fame to fan the flames of white nationalism. Isn't it time we listened? Now, you think back in history, because one of my all-time favorite people is Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a celebrity. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if you followed Muhammad Ali, you knew what Muhammad Ali stood for. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He didn't cower at the face of prejudice and racism. He took it on head first. That's why people loved him. So when you compare the athletes, some of the athletes of the 60s, and some of the entertainers like Lena Horne, okay, like Josephine Baker when she made Strange Fruits. Yeah, they took it on. Josephine Baker was literally ran out of the country. Ida B. Wells, who was a newspaper owner, she was ran out of Memphis when she dared to write about 3 men being hung at Mississippi and Walker. I lived in Memphis for 15 years, so I spent a lot of time over there by Lemoyne Owen College, Lemoyne Gardens, Three-Way Grill, by the way. So this segment, I want to talk about a story that was shocking to me. And you said, well, how does that refer or relate to rappers and their music? I would argue today, more than ever, that rap music is a poison for the black community. Now, I will tell you, I believe in free speech. You know I do. I've been doing this business for over 40 years, close to 40 years. I believe in free speech. You have a right to speak and sing and whatever you want. But we as parents need to be more concerned about what our children are listening to. We need to be more concerned by what our children are playing in video games. You know, I do a seminar called the Black Male Teenage Survival Kit. And one of the things that I would ask these young brothers, because I first started off doing black males, now I do black females, I do the whole group now. But I would ask these young brothers, how many of you all play PlayStation? Back then, when I started, it was just PlayStation 2. We're all the way up to PlayStation 5. They're talking about releasing PlayStation 6. I think I'm done buying PlayStations at this point in my life. All right? If what I have is not sufficient, then it just won't be sufficient going forward. We need to be concerned about what they're doing on these consoles. I'm not saying censor it. I'm simply saying that you as a parent should sit down and watch the games that they play. You should get a understanding. It's the same if you're looking at their social media. There was a story in Memphis last week where a mother, ended up murdering a man whom she found in her daughter's bedroom. And when you first hear the story, you're wondering, whoa, wait a minute, what is a grown man doing in a girl's bedroom? And I say girl. Then when you find out the details of the story, you gotta kind of have to question the mother and her overseeing of her daughter. Look, I know some of these kids are terrible, but that is in part because of the lack of discipline you as a parent have provided for that child. We want our children to be up on the latest and the greatest. We want them to have the best hairstyles. You know, we want them to become grown-ups long before they're ready to handle grown-up situations. I would tell the young men in my family, or I should say my rites of passage camps, is that stay, and I told my son this and my daughter, you see, you're going to be considered a child for 18 years. Okay? At 19, you are an adult. And for the rest of your life, so for 47 years of my life, I've been a grown person. I'm 65. Okay? For 47 years, I was only, for a child, a teenager, Only 18 years. Now, what's my point here? Is that you're going to be an adult, God willing, a lot longer than you're going to be a teenager. And I would tell those kids, I said, stay a teenager as long as you can. Because once you cross that threshold, everything changes. And I allowed my son and my daughter to be just that. I wasn't rushing them to be adults. I taught them about adulthood, things and expectations that they need to be aware of. But no, I wasn't trying to let them be grown at 16. But this young 13-year-old girl, that story, had invited a grown 29-year-old man into her bedroom. And that man was caught by the mother of that 13-year-old girl. Now, the backstory to that is that apparently the 13-year-old girl had been doing that before, and the mother had warned her not to do that. You warned her? Did you take her phone? Did you check her social media? Did you see if she was on a gaming system and communicating with grown men? Because apparently she was. Because see, the 13-year-old girl invited her, that grown man, into her bedroom. And according to the mother, she had done it before. And when the mother discovered the man, she allowed the man to leave. And when he was leaving, she walked up behind him with her pistol and shot the man in the back of the head, murdering him. She didn't catch the man sexually assaulting her daughter. You know, we have this thing called stand your ground. He wasn't assaulting the daughter. He wasn't assaulting the mother. He was leaving. We don't know what he did beforehand, but apparently he and the daughter had another relationship. I don't understand the mentality of a 29-year-old man going after a 13-year-old girl. But those of you who say he deserved to get what he got, I don't agree with that. I think the justice system will handle that, or could have handled that. But for that mother to go up behind that man and shoot him in the back of the head, mistake. She's going to realize it was a mistake when she's wearing those orange jumpsuits. Okay? Now, what's my point? That's one of many examples of a parent dropping the ball when it comes to social media. You don't have time. You should be checking your child's social media. You should be looking at their social media. Hello? Just like you look at them when they go out of the house with what they're dressed in. You should be going out to their accounts. Look, I guarantee you're paying the bill. Okay? You're paying the bill. You bought the phone. You bought the computer. You should be paying attention to what's going on their social media accounts. It ain't nothing about, that I want them to have their privacy. No, they don't need privacy. I told my kids, don't you ever lock a door in my house. You don't own this. I pay the bills here. You don't lock a door. And I saw a story where a man, he kept having that problem with his son. He ended up taking the door off the hinges and hanging a sheet up at the door. And there were a lot of people on social media, oh, that's wrong, he's wrong. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. If you want privacy, go get your own stuff. Children are children, and they deserve to be checked on a regular basis because they're easily influenced. Because they're not of this world. You see, you might have a little 13-year-old girl who someone's telling them, oh, she's so pretty, you so pretty. She might think she's ugly, but then all of a sudden here's a grown man out here who's telling her she's pretty and starts buying her gifts. You don't ask where she got that necklace. You don't go through her drawers. You don't go through her backpack or his backpack. Why not? Oh, you want them to have privacy. Well, that's why they have drugs in your house. They bring weapons into your house. And then on their social media, they're meeting all kinds of scurrilous people. That brings me to the story I want to talk about. East St. Louis. If y'all didn't hear about this, two teens murdered 5 people in a family, a 15-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy. It was horrific. How would you dare murder 5 people in your family at 15 and 16? And you think about this, and I'll be honest, the first thing I thought about was the Capulets and the Montagues. Do you know who they are, right? 11th grade English, Romeo and Juliet. They didn't murder their family, they murdered themselves. Oh, it was about love. They loved each other. They were willing to die for each other. Okay, so if you're willing to die for someone else, why are you going to kill your other family members? Let me read this story for you. It's out of KMOV. One of the teens accused in killing 5 people and injuring 2 others in the mass shooting in East St. Louis appeared in court for the first time on those charges. A 16-year-old Jameer Davis is facing 12 charges as an adult, including 5 counts of first-degree murder. According to the state's attorneys, and the young lady, they won't name her, but she's going by the name of WT. Okay? Sherry May, 49, was killed on July 5th and was found inside a storage tote in a dumpster at Godfrey Homes. In court, the Illinois state attorney said Davis shot Sherry at least 4 times. WT allegedly shot and stabbed Sherry an undisclosed number of times. Now, WT, those are the family members that were killed. Okay? The girl's family members. Y'all get this, right? While WT and Davis were cleaning related to Sherry's death, WT's cousin, Devin May, walked in unexpectedly, according to the state's attorney. Davis then shot Devin once in the head, killing him. Now remember, Davis is the boy, WT is the girl. In court, Davis said after Devin's death, WT lured her grandmother into the apartment while he hid in the closet. When her grandmother, Patricia A. May, 74, came in, he jumped out and shot her. They then cut off her thumb to unlock her iPhone. In court, Davis said about Patricia's death that it happened a while ago. I didn't plan it. I didn't want to do it. And that cutting off her thumb happened after her death. It was WT's plan to get money from Patricia. Devin and Patricia's death are believed to have happened on July 11th and 12th. On July 12th, Santosha Scott, WT's cousin, said she was in Jones Park looking for WT when she was shot in the back, allegedly by Davis. Before being taken to the hospital, Scott said she was scared that WT and Davis were going home to hurt the rest of the family. ISP responded to the 3000 block where WT and Davis then left in a red car. Agents said they found Devin's body upstairs. The local police stopped the red car driven by Davis and with WT in the passenger seat, taking note that a handgun was in plain view, as well as the severed thumb of WT's grandmother. Police said they asked WT whose finger it was, to which she allegedly said, "My grandmother's. She's dead." Officers then went to Patricia's house and did not find her. They allegedly encouraged WT's father, Marcus May, who said he was looking for WT. The state's attorney said Marcus told police a Chevy Traverse that was allegedly stolen by Davis was parked in the back of a nearby home. In the back of the Traverse, police found the body of WT's sister, 25-year-old Chanel Thompson. Shell casings found in the home and the park all marked the gun that was found in the red car, matched the gun that was found in the red car. And ATF trace found it was the gun of Tiffany Thompson, WT's mother, who reported the gun stolen July 7th. July 12th is believed to be when 21-year-old Quentin Thompson was shot and killed, and Tiffany Thompson was shot in the neck and injured. Here's a conversation between the two via social media. Davis: well, your auntie Easy, we can have her at gunpoint and stab her ass. WT: oh, you, I can do that. I love blood. Davis: you got it, and at least we both love it. Davis: we gotta do this, but taking them out is hard. WT: babe, I'm finna lose my whole family for you. Davis: me too. Damn, life is crazy. WT: no, like we about to kill my family. I'm gonna have nobody but you. I'm scared ASF. I understand. I'll do it for me, but would you do it for you? That was WT. Davis responded, yes. Now, again, my point. There was something going on with these kids long before this happened. What triggered this? We may never know. But the question is, were you parenting? Were you paying attention to who your daughter was with? Were you parenting? Were you paying attention to who your son was with? I don't care if they did grow up in a housing development. That's a tough place to grow up. But I know a lot of great people who grew up in housing developments who turned out great because at least their parents, although they were on government assistance, they were still parenting their children. What shows were they watching? Were you paying attention to their social media accounts? Apparently you weren't. Because if you were, somebody would have discovered that text on IG. Because that was from Instagram. Y'all understand what I'm saying here? Is that our children are being poisoned. And it's not just black kids, it's white kids too. Because many of them are being poisoned with racist tropes and all kinds of things. Are you paying attention to what your children are watching? I don't care what you call me, I'm going to be a parent. I told my kids early on, I'm not your friend, I'm your daddy. We're friends now. But while they were growing up, I'm their parent. It was my responsibility. It was my responsibility to make sure that they grew up in an environment that was conducive to learning. I watched this guy who was out in public with an index card asking grown people to read a sentence. And these people can't even read. But they're all on. See, part of the reason you got this social media shorthand is because some of these people can't even write. They can't even spell. These people can't even read. They don't know what comprehension is. They don't even have any remorse for killing their own families, their friends. They've been led to believe that I can go get in a gang and I can live. Many of those young people that I had in my rites of passage camps, they didn't believe they would live past 21. What are y'all teaching these kids? You don't believe that you live past 21? Oh my God. Wow. It's just a sad commentary. We have got to take our children back from society. And yeah, I don't care what Sally's mama let her do. I don't care what Broderick's mama let him do. This is what we're going to do. This is the standard in our household. And you're going to live up to that standard. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We'll take a break. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. On joynetradio.com. Every day, potential customers are deciding who to trust. The question is, will they choose you? At Chanbear Media Consultants, we help businesses, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, and authors build brands that stand out and get results. Need a new logo, podcast or website development and evaluation, grant research and writing, book editing with formatting and cover design? Chanbear Media Consultants has got you covered. With over 40 years of media experience, David W. Coleman and the Chanbear team combine creativity with strategy to help your organization communicate with confidence and grow with purpose. Don't settle for ordinary when your brand can be extraordinary. Call Chanbear Media Consultants today at 615-554-0568. That's 615-554-0568. Chanbear Media Consultants, building brands, creating influence, and most importantly, delivering results. What's old is new again. The release of the Pain of Vengeance audiobook is finally here. A new generation, but the old story remains the same. What happens to an officer of the court when the tables of justice are turned against him? Will he abide or take the law into his own hands? Follow the saga of Malik Coleman as he makes decisions that will change lives forever. Be the first to hear it and hear it again. What would you do? Accept an unjust ruling or reject the system outright that views fathers as second-class citizens? Order The Pain of Vengeance today. Now available as an audiobook. The Pain of Vengeance will make you cheer, cry, laugh, and make you question equality and who truly benefits. Order The Pain of Vengeance audiobook by Dante Sinkay today. Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you'd like to join the show. Wow, that segment there was a little rough on me. I'm gonna be honest with you. To hear that two young people who were apparently quote unquote in love, puppy love by the way, decided that they would kill 5 family members. And the irony is that it wasn't the boys' 5 family members, it was the girls' 5 family members. And then cut the grandmother's thumb off so they could try to access her iPhone to get money. Where'd they learn that from? Where'd they get those ideas from? They got it from television. They got it from some show that they were watching. You see, everybody matures differently. Just because you're at a certain age doesn't mean that you're mentally mature. And most young people operate on emotion. They don't operate on common sense because they don't have it. They have not yet developed it. And there are some adults who are in the same predicament today. In fact, you don't really start developing common sense until you become adult and you see what the real world is all about. That's just a sad story. I saw the interview with the dad and he's devastated. He said his daughter looks just like him. He couldn't imagine that she would do something. And here's the scary thing about it. They were planning to wipe out the whole family. They had a hit list. And guess who else was on the hit list? The girl's daddy. Unbelievable. Excuse me. Unbelievable. You know, my mom used to have a saying. She says, I'm just outdone. I'm outdone. I've heard some horrible things. I've seen some horrible things. But I'm going to tell you, for them to wipe out 5 of their family members, their grandmother, who raised you, wow, that's some helter-skelter crap right there. Some of y'all are too young to understand what helter-skelter was all about, but those weren't family members. A family was wiped out, but the family members didn't do it. There have been others, the white boys in California, they wiped out their mom and dad. There was a big trial about that, but you just don't see that kind of stuff in the black community. You just don't. But again, worshiping the gods of a beaten enemy. Okay. Let's see what else I want to talk about this show before we get out of here. We got What We Must Do coming up here in just a moment. I guess what I want to talk about a little bit more of, and I'm going to add this politics segment, because one thing that I've discovered more than anything else is there is a problem with our Congress. And that problem has to do with age. I was watching the hearing for Todd Blanche last week, and it dawned on me as I watched, the chairman of that judiciary hearing was Senator Grassley. Grassley is 92 years old. He doesn't need to be in Congress anymore. What I'm going to talk to you about this segment is why there must be term limits. Okay? And that needs to be at 65. Period, end of story. If retirement age is 65, then we should not have senators who are 75, 80, 90 years old. We shouldn't have presidents that old. Now, if you turn that old while in office, that's one thing. But your next election is to elect that you're retiring. Chuck Grassley shouldn't be sitting as the head of the Judiciary Committee. And I'm sitting there listening to him and look, I'm not trying to make fun of someone who's an old person. I'm old. I'm 65. Okay? But I understand that there are certain things that I used to do that I can't do. And the difference in them and me is that they're getting paid. We're not. They're getting expensive health care. We're not. So the question is it time for them to retire? It really is, man. Look, many people look forward to retirement age at 65, but in the Senate, the median age is nearly 65, with 49 members being that old. 49 members are at least 65 years old. That's a problem. And all of them are hanging on to that old, in fact, compared to the previous session, it's 79 days older and the third oldest in U.S. history. With an average age of 58.9 years, the 119th Congress is the third oldest since 1789. They need to go, bro. That's why America isn't changing. That's why you still have these old ideas. That's why you still have these racism. Many of these people that are in Congress today, particularly on the Republican side, were racist and have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Look, Grassley was born, in 33? right after the Depression. He lived through Jim Crow. He grew up in Jim Crow. I'd be curious to wonder, if he was honest, how many people did he see hanged? How many black people did he see lynched? He doesn't need to be there anymore. It's time for him to go. In fact, this is the argument why you should be voting. And you should be voting against anybody that has been in their seat more than, I would say, 2 terms. Bozeman out of Arkansas, I didn't know this, he's 74. He's over the banking committee. Was he part of redlining? Y'all understand what I'm saying here, right? They need to go. A lot of them need to go. Retire. Susan Collins, who's running in Maine. God, she can barely talk right now. She needs to go. Why are you stealing money from taxpayers? You've already vested in your 401k. You've already made millions of dollars off the backs of taxpayers through lobbyists. What are you hanging on for? Lindsey Graham was 71. Mitch McConnell is 84. They still haven't determined whether or not he's dead or not, but we know he is. Look, if you're alive, when you at least say, hey, look, I'm still here, do you have the strength to even raise your hand and wave? This is why I tell people, voting is important. If we can pass term limits, because you're never going to pass a law that's going to vote yourself out of Congress. You're never going to do that. Some of these term limited states were ballot initiatives by the people. Even in Arkansas is a ballot initiative state, and they just recently tried to stop the people from putting on ballot initiatives, and it was struck down by the Supreme Court. Because they don't want to leave the fat cow that they're feeding off of, the taxpayer. So the key to solving this problem, when someone says I don't vote because I'm tired of the Democrats or I'm tired of the Republicans, well, if that's the case, then you should be voting. And even if you have to vote someone out that you don't even know, vote for the new person. They may be the same. Guess what? Next election cycle, you vote their asses out too. That's how you solve this problem. Yeah, term limits are great. I'm glad some people are passing those. But at the end of the day, you got a built-in term limit system, and that's the vote. But the problem is, y'all don't vote. It don't matter whether they're Democrat or Republican. And we always like to say, when you get people from other states chastising people in another state, oh, well, that person, let's give an example, Wes Moore, here, the mayor the governor of Maryland. I've heard people talk about Wes Moore. And then when you look at their representative is crack. I said crack. Okay? For instance, the representative in South Carolina. The governor of South Carolina. Let me give you an example of that, and I've got another part of this that I want to talk about. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay? Here's what the governor of South Carolina said. So when you're criticizing other governors and voting for people like this in your own state, you're the damn problem. And that's what they want you to be. They want to pit you against everybody else so that they can stay in office and continue to feed on that golden calf. Okay? So you need to pay attention to this. So I was doing some research. The governor of South Carolina is Henry McMaster. He's a Republican. He's been term limited out. Woo, yeah, that's great. Just like Nikki Haley was. She found out that white people don't really like her either because she's got Indian descent. Here's what he said. He said, I look forward to the day that Democrats are so rare, we have to hunt them down like dogs. That's a governor. Do you realize that there are people in your state that are Democrats that you should be serving regardless of their political persuasion? So what that also tells me is that if you're willing to say that about Democrats, what do you say about black people or other minorities? Chairwoman Crystal Spain, who is a black woman, responded with this. The majority of the Democratic electorate in South Carolina are black. You get this, right? And our governor is saying out loud, he can't wait to hunt us down like dogs. This is absolutely chilling to hear from a Southern governor who knows our history. Our being South Carolina's history. Now, I won't go into that, but you need to do some research. These people need to go. You see, it was Lyndon Baines Johnson who said we got to teach the white man, the poorest white man, that he's better than the richest black man. And when he realizes that, he'll open up his pockets and let you reach in and take out anything you want. That philosophy is working like a charm. Working like a charm. Okay. Let me pivot just a little bit. Excuse me. Still on the political bandwagon. Because I have to say this again and again and again. A few weeks ago, I talked about this. You know, the loudmouth from Louisiana. I helped Clinton get drafted. I don't want to ever see the point where a Democratic Party is not supporting Israel. Huh? What? So it's okay for you to take $8 billion of our tax dollars and send it to a country where they have free health care. They have free schools. And our children here are suffering, and you just killed our health care plan. All right? There have been a lot of Democrats who've come out and said basically the same thing. The fool from Pennsylvania who, you don't know if he's Democrat or Republican, he said the same thing in an article last week. Hakeem Jeffries. Just last week, there was a vote to unshackle, they were trying to shackle the American military with the Israeli military. Thank goodness that was voted down by quite a few people, Republicans and Democrats, by the way, Republicans and demagogues, as I like to call them. That was voted down, but Hakeem Jeffries held a caucus meeting with nothing but demagogues and urged them not to vote against that bill. Hakeem Jeffries is getting over, and I know it's over $1 million from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. I think it was like $1.6 million that has been donated to Hakeem Jeffries from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. By the way, that money that they donating to Hakeem Jeffries is really our tax dollars that we're sending to Israel in that $8 billion. And then they're sending it back to their Israeli lobbyists in America for politicians, Republicans and Democrats. Have you ever thought about it from that perspective? So here's my thing. Hakeem Jeffries needs to go. I don't care if he's a Democrat. At this point, I don't care who wins the House or the Senate. I would love it for the Democrat, but for you to say, vote for a Democrat regardless of his or her stand just ain't gonna fly with a lot of people. That's why a lot of people just throw their hands up and just go home. They don't even vote at all. Graham Plattner, who was running against Susan Collins in Maine, has been ran out of the race because of allegations of sexual assault. The irony is that the president has 34. He has 34 multiple accusations. He's a 34 count convicted felon, and he just paid E. Jean Carroll $5.6 million in a defamation suit because he sexually assaulted her. And the judge in that case called it rape. So he's a convicted rape. He's an adjudicated rapist. You see, those people shouldn't even be thinking about running. They should not even be in the race. You all are not doing a very good job vetting these people. But at the end of the day, you are there for the American people. You are there to represent the American people, regardless of what political persuasion you are. Now, we know all of you all have been bought off in both parties. This is why I've been saying for the longest, black people as a whole, but the American people in general, should be creating other parties. We are the only industrialized democratic nation that has two parties. I say oftentimes, left wing and the right wing is part of the same bird. They all take money from PACs. They all take money from corporations. They all are bought off and sold. Look at what's going on now in the oil industry. They've basically killed renewable energy because the oil industry, Donald Trump told them at the beginning of last election that, look, if you give me $20 billion, if I'm elected, I will make sure that we kill off all of your competition, which was renewable energy. And that's exactly what they did. Prior to Donald Trump being elected, the Biden administration was offering a $7,000 incentive for anyone who bought an electric car. Okay? That incentive no longer exists. That was a tax break. That no longer exists. That's one of many industries who has literally bought our Congress and our White House and, yes, the Supreme Court. So what can we do about it? We can do a lot about it. We need to start voting. If anyone has been in office now for over 10 years or more than 2 terms, you need to vote them out. Don't care what they've done. Good or bad, they need to go. Period. End of story. And anyone who feels like in the Democratic Party that they need to be more loyal to Israel, a country that is not even in our market. By the way, Hakeem Jeffries, a country that is racist, a country that secretly sterilized black people to keep them from having babies in Israel. We should not be supporting them. Period. End of story. We'll take our last break. It's called What We Must Do. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com. Every day, potential customers are deciding who to trust. The question is, will they choose you? At Chanbear Media Consultants, we help businesses, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, and authors build brands that stand out and get results. Need a new logo, podcast, or website development and evaluation, grant research and writing, book editing with formatting and cover design? Chanbear Media Consultants has got you covered. With over 40 years of media experience, David W. Coleman and the Chanbear team combine creativity with strategy to help your organization communicate with confidence and grow with purpose. Don't settle for ordinary when your brand can be extraordinary. Call Chanbear Media Consultants today at 615-554-0568. That's 615-554-0568. Chanbear Media Consultants, building brands, creating influence, and most importantly, delivering results. Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah. What's old is new again. The release of the Pain of Vengeance audiobook is finally here. A new generation, but the old story remains the same. What happens to an officer of the court when the tables of justice are turned against him? Will he abide or take the law into his own hands? Follow the saga of Malik Coleman as he makes decisions that will change lives forever. Be the first to hear it and hear it again. What would you do? Accept an unjust ruling or reject the system outright that views fathers as second-class citizens? Order The Pain of Vengeance today. Now available as an audiobook. The Pain of Vengeance will make you cheer, cry, laugh, and make you question equality and who truly benefits. Order The Pain of Vengeance audiobook by Dante Sinkay today.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. We're at my favorite section of the show. It's called What We Must Do. It's where I tie in all the things that we talked about today into how we can move forward as a people. So, my question in this segment is, when are we going to get tired of the coochie popping? When are we going to get tired of the misogynism, the murder, and the mayhem? I was looking at a chart earlier, and it showed the number of homicides per 100. I think it was per 1,000 people. City that I grew up in, Little Rock, is 17. Memphis was like number 4. I lived in that city. The city I live in now, Baltimore, outside of Baltimore, is 14. My question is, what is leading to all of this? What is it that makes young black men and women, because look, the new thing on the social media now is showing black women fighting. It's always been there, but it seems to have ramped up as of late. I'm sick of watching that. In fact, I don't watch it. I click the X where it deletes them, don't show me that again, or whatever that X does, okay? I'm tired of watching that. World Star has died. It's over. Going viral by watching someone fight and injure another person that looks like you is a sickness. You understand that, right? I know young people get upset with one another. I know they are emotional beings. But to have a gang of people standing around watching this spectacle is despicable. It just really is. It just really is. And some of the people watching are grown-ups. I'm tired of seeing videos that are going viral where women are walking around with nothing on. The coochie popping, as they call it. Okay? You're walking around, I'm tired of seeing grown women that are 45, 50 years old on social media in bikinis. Now, if you're showing off because you're at the beach, it's one thing. But if you're standing in the mirror asking people, do you like what you see? We know what you're doing. You're advertising. You're going through a midlife crisis. But you know what? What really annoys me is when you see that video and then that little girl is sitting in the background. And you wonder why the 15-year-old and the 16-year-old murdered their parents. You wonder why the young 14 and 15-year-old kid is out there selling drugs. Because of the music they're listening to and because of what you as a parent represent. I used to tell the story all the time. After I got my divorce, I was celibate for 7 years. And then after that, I started dating again. My kids were growing up. I tell the story, I said, you could offer my kids $1 million if they could tell you one person that I dated when they were growing up. They would lose that $1 million. Because see, my personal life was none of their business. In fact, I had women who would get mad at me because I talked about my kids all the time. And I would tell them, they would say, oh, well, you a good black man. The way you talk about your kids, you love your kids, da-da-da-da-da. I said, yeah, I do. She said, I can't wait to meet them. And I had to turn and tell one sister, I said, look, I don't mean no harm, but you're not going to meet them. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, no, you're not going to meet them. I said, number one, it is important for me for my children to know that they are not going to see daddy running women in and out of the house. I want my son to understand that that's not the standard here. I want my daughter to understand that she, as a woman growing up, is not what she should be doing. They couldn't tell you today. Now they could now because I'm older, and once they became adults, I introduced them to women that I was dating. But as teenagers, they couldn't tell you. It's about that standard that we all need to be concerned about when it comes to raising our children. The other thing that we need to teach our children is about common sense situations. We've all heard about Nolan Wells. I've told you the story of when I was at Camp Grundy and was the only black kid there. And how, and about Philmont, when we were the only two black kids there, me and a friend of mine, Jeff Hampton, and how we almost had to fight up in the mountains. How I was going to beat the hell out of some white folks with a stick with fire on it. Yeah, I was. I was going to put that fire on them. Okay? Y'all think I'm joking. I'm very serious. Because I like to say, if you're going to whoop my ass, you better bring your lunch. Because it's going to be an all-day sucker. I say that now, and I'm 65. I ain't going out that way. But we got to start teaching our children about situations. You can't be the only black. You can't. And as I've watched and seen these pictures of Nolan Wells, a lot of those pictures he's in, he's the only black guy. And unfortunately in America, racism still exists. And I guarantee you that something peculiar went on. I guarantee you, even if there was nothing nefarious as it relates to his death, I guarantee you he's been the brunt of some racist jokes. And he probably laughed. And then the good old white boy comes and says, oh, Nolan, you cool, man. You know we just playing with you, right? You don't play about racism. So we have to start teaching our children about circumstances. That if it gets to a point where you're the only black person there without adult supervision, then you probably shouldn't be there. That's the one thing that my mama taught us well. But then she sent me to Camp Grundy. We got to start teaching our children how to survive this world. And more importantly, we got to start teaching our children and ourselves. We got to get this mindectomy. And we got to put a new mind in our brains and start saying that beyond a shadow of a doubt, we got to support one another. If you're thrilled the fact that there are black rappers that are in rap and there are black movie stars in movies, then you should be thrilled about black businessmen and women. And how can you be thrilled about them? Because, see, those are your real role models. Here's what black businessmen or black businesses would do. They are more prone to hire black people. Most of them are. Because they grew up black. They're more prone to hire your young black son as an intern than a white business is. But there are very few black businesses that can do that because you don't support them. Rick Chow murdered a black man, a black boy, ran him down and shot him down like a dog. Black people said, oh, well, we're not going to go to Asian businesses anymore. Are you still going back? Some of y'all are. Some of y'all are still getting your nails done at these Asian businesses. Some of y'all are still buying their hair. Some of y'all are still buying their Chinese takeout, even though they said, you're still going to buy it. You're still going to Hispanic businesses. Why? But if that black restaurant opens up, you don't support them. The young lady that I talked about, the toast of Lennox, that's one you shouldn't be supporting, even though she's black. She doesn't have a black mentality. She clearly spat in y'all faces because y'all are the ones that made her that money. Black people. I will doubt that many white people attended her business. They will now because they're saying, oh, let's go support the black woman who's supporting white people. And they'll do that for a period of time. Look at all these black MAGAs now who are trying to run back to the black community. Now that real MAGA has said, hey, you still a nigga to them. Excuse my vernacular, because y'all know I don't like that word. But I use that in the negative sense that they use it. And that you ought to understand what it is. So now they're running back to black people. They need us. The same ones that they turn their backs on. All I'm simply saying to you is that mindectomy that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked about so eloquently over the decades that she lived is sorely needed. That's why I was thrilled about President Boko in Botswana when he said that, hey, you want our minerals, then you're gonna come to us with respect and a real deal. Same with Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. The $2 trillion that we earn annually as a black community, more than the gross national product of Canada, more than the 9th largest nation in the world, that is plenty of money to support our businesses. We should have more. I saw a piece where, there's over 180,000 service stations in America, and only, was it 10 or 11 that are black owned? What? As much gas as we buy? As much low riding as we drive? What? We've lost our minds. We do need a mindectomy. We really do. And that's what we must do. All right. Hope you all enjoyed the show. I want to remind you all about Chanberry Media Consultants. We are helping you with your book. If you've got a book and you've just got the manuscript, you need it edited, you need to learn how to get it on Amazon, you need other tips on where else to sell it, you need an audio book, we can help you with that. You might have a podcast, you might think, oh, I got a great podcast, but all you got is a podcast. We can help you format it and make sure that you are delivering it the way it needs to be done. Call me up at 615-554-0568. Ask for Chanberry Media Consultants, and we'll put together a package that can help you put your best foot forward on your brand. We got to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, brilliant minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. Which do you possess? And thank you for listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. Habari Gani.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joynetradio.com.